This is Sadie McMaster, aka Sweetheart Sadie, reading my blog post entitled The New Doctor Anxiety. The New Doctor Anxiety. I got to meet my primary care physician 2 days ago. The familiar one quit the practice unexpectedly. The one I really loved the year before left the practice to raise her newborn. It seems like I get to meet a new PCP every year. That's not something that makes me happy. I'm filled with anxiety because I'm upfront and honest with my medical professionals, and I'm never quite sure how they're going to react. Before we get started, before addressing anything with my PCP, I tell her about how involved I am in the BDSM lifestyle. You would think that it would be easier with the advent of 50 Shades, but I always fear that there might be rejection. Before we get started, I say, I'm very active in the BDSM lifestyle. Are you okay with treating a patient like me? Invariably, I have been met with acceptance. Whatever consenting people do, I don't care, as long as you're safe, is usually the response. Only once, in a BDSM emergency situation, did I get a look of disapproval, and that was from someone who was not my primary at that office. I had to see the first available, but still, there's some shock. When someone doesn't know much about the BDSM lifestyle, it can come as a shock the injuries one can sustain when things go wrong, even though you've been safe. My mammogram history brings up a red flag for my doctors. It's irregular. I had to get a mammogram just to be safe because following an intense episode of biting play, I developed a hematoma in my breast. Read, one big ass lump. I had a follow up mammogram the next year to ensure all was well. Then I stopped getting mammograms because they moved the age back, so it was no longer required. Read, paid for by my insurance. Of course, she asked about it. I explained, and her jaw dropped in shock. Not a bad shock, just a I didn't even know that could happen shock. I assured her it was a type of play I no longer do, per doctor's orders. Be honest with your doctor. As awkward and uncomfortable as it is, and as anxious as you may be about rejection, tell your doctor what it is that you do. Telling your doctor now will make your life and your top's life a whole lot easier when something goes wrong. When something goes wrong. When I went to the doctor to have my hematoma looked at, I was covered in bruises. And guess what happened? The police didn't get called. I protected my top and I saved myself hours of sitting with social workers and domestic violence counselors trying to convince them that no, really, it is BDSM. Tell your doctors what you do. Ask your partners if their doctors know. It's just one more step of personal responsibility in safe play.